Given how many plates you have to deal with, it's easy to overlook the importance of recognizing your team members' efforts and accomplishment. However, failing to do so can have far-reaching consequences that have very negative ripple effects on your team, on the departments, on the cross-functional teams and the company, and the brand.
Hey there, I'm Mags, also known as the Marketer Whisperer. If you've ever felt the doubts and pressures of leadership starting to sap your confidence and passion for this amazing job, then this podcast is for you. As a former marketer myself, I've lived through the chaos of consumer brands for over 16 years, so I do get what you're going through. And that's enough to leave any smart and driven marketer feeling like a burnt out version of their former self. But it doesn't have to be this way. So on this show, I'll be sharing pragmatic tips and also real stories to help you feeling confident, creative, and passionate about marketing leadership again.
Well, today is about how we marketing directors sometimes ignore it when our team goes, beyond the scope of their responsibilities and the way they behave in a team. And they need recognition, because as a marketing team leader, I get it. You deal with multiple projects, tight deadlines, and constant demands that is requiring your attention, various competency levels amongst your team members that you need to develop, other heads of department with strong views about your brands, the strategy, countless issues to deal with, agency relationships to manage and more, emails and, back-to-back meetings all day long. So I very well know, because I've been in your shoes before, that given how many plates you have to deal with, it's easy to overlook the importance of recognizing your team members' efforts and accomplishment. However, failing to do so can have far-reaching consequences that have very negative ripple effects on your team, on the departments, on the cross-functional teams and the company, and the brand. It's hindering growth, and it's really putting a bit of a brake on the potential of your people. So the reasons behind these neglects are a few. So time constraints, usually this is what I hear from people, competing priorities and a lack of awareness. And all of these often contribute to the fact that you don't spend time recognizing your team's contributions and successes. Marketing leaders, overwhelmed by the weight of your responsibilities, you may feel that project matters are more pressing, right? That leaves little room for acknowledging individual contributions, especially when your team members are doing, and how they're behaving. It's when what they're doing and how they're behaving this is simply beyond their normal tasks, duties, responsibilities. So you may assume that your team members are already aware of their value. I mean, we're not, right? I bet, put yourself in their shoes and actually even think about yourself. How nice would that be to receive a nice short email from, so if a marketing director, maybe the CMO or the VP or the CEO saying, hey, I've seen how you've handled that conflict with the head of sales, or how the brand plans, went with the board, and congratulations, this is such a step ahead versus where we were last year. So I'm really proud of what you've accomplished and all the challenges you've had to face with your leadership skills. It's amazing. Continue, and let's start next week. This goes beyond. It doesn't even have to be this long, to be fair, but sometimes we also underestimate the significance of recognition in that it builds a positive and productive work environment. And this is key. It's almost easy to take it for granted when we have it. When you start losing it as a marketing director, it is so damn hard to regain and to build back. So with that culture of feedback and recognition, with that comes motivation, retention, better initiatives, better and more ideas for the brands, which for a marketing team is the gold spot, to hit. So what if we overlooked acknowledgement and recognition? What are the risks? Well, when we neglect to recognize our team efforts, it's got detrimental effects on the morale, on engagement, and overall performance. I've seen that in many teams and the people that I have coached. And that's do know very well that many marketeers really get the ick thinking about being in the spotlight. So I'm talking about your team and perhaps yourself, but here I'm really focused on your team. They really feel uncomfortable to have a really bright light shining on them. Acknowledging doesn't mean handing out, awards, golden awards on the stage with a speech necessarily. We're not necessarily talking about those conference moments, right? And some people really feel uncomfortable with that. Some love it. There are many other ways that are very, low-key enough to make everyone comfortable, totally acceptable and professional, and yet very powerful in the fact that we're taking the time to appreciate efforts. Especially, I've seen that countless times done in marketing team meetings. So if you have them every 2 weeks or every month, it shouldn't be too often, because we need to have time to observe what's going on in the day-to-day. But I guess every month is a good frequency. Team members who prefer to avoid the spotlight can benefit from these positive, constructive comments, affirmations, recognition during the team meetings or informal gathering, a huddle, for example. This recognition not only boosts their confidence and self-esteem, but also creates a sense of belonging amongst the team and appreciation within the brand team dynamic. I have seen that every single time this has been implemented when I was talking to the people involved. And as a leader, when you have that, you are in the best position you can have. Ask marketing directors who have to deal with difficult relationship with some of their team members, a lack of trust, people kind of leaving and going, and they'll tell you it's awful, it's hell, and it's really hard, and it takes time to build back. So marketing leaders may find themselves uncomfortable to provide a really comprehensive, I'd say, feedback during annual reviews and performance evaluations, because sometimes, that's what they said to me, they lack examples. They forgot or they haven't seen everything that's been happening with this employee, and therefore that really kind of led me back to this monthly recognition stuff, because without a clear understanding of your team members' day-to-day contributions, you're missing out on valuable insights and opportunities to celebrate success, identify areas of growth, and tailor your coaching and development strategies to each of your team members' needs. So those monthly recognition moments are a goldmine for you to listen to what people have to say to each other, because you're not in every conversation, you're not in every team meetings, you're not in every cross-functional meeting. So you're missing out, of course, naturally, on a lot of things. So this is really important for you to hear. So I'm going to give you a couple of simple and effective ways to do it that I have either myself done, or I've been part of it, or I've seen it done. So in order to implement a culture of recognition, and I'm talking about culture, I use that word a lot, and by that I mean it's not a one-off. A one-off will get you nowhere. People are going to enjoy. It's almost like giving a lolly to a kid that thinks that they're going to have it every day, and then you kind of take it away, and the sweetness moment is gone. So if you do implement those moments of recognition and acknowledgement, you have to commit to it, because you will see the positive outputs and impact it's got, and on a regular basis. If every 2 weeks, and I think I would really encourage you to do it every month, not necessarily more frequently than that, but it depends on how you're set up with your team. Doing it every month gives enough time for people to kind of spot stuff and observe, and also just taking a few minutes before the monthly meeting takes place to write up their acknowledgement of what they've seen that was really positive and motivating. So level 1, peer recognition. Encourage your team members to actively identify and acknowledge colleagues, and I would say both within their own immediate team. So you may have like an SBM that has a small team of 2 brand managers and an assistant, for example. So within this immediate team, also the overall brand team, and maybe shopper marketing is part of the overall brand team as well, and also across cross-functional teams or the other departments that your team is dealing with. And this is pretty much everyone, isn't it? Because we're in marketing, we deal with every single person. So, think about Ben from supply chain, think about James from the factory, think about Jessie from R&D, maybe your agencies even. Anyone who you work with that has done something wonderful, has behaved in a way that was so helpful. And of course, we're not trying to highlight the stuff from, your job spec, because everybody is supposed to do their job. We're really here to highlight something a bit different. So, if someone took a different approach that worked really well, was very kind, just went, above and beyond their duties, this is what we want to acknowledge. So this will not only promote a supportive and collaborative environment, but also provides the managers of these celebrated colleagues, if I don't like the word celebrate, but I think it fits here, the managers of these people who have been nominated or acknowledged with a broader perspective on the individual contribution that this person has done that would otherwise go unnoticed. And as a manager, it's wonderful to hear. Can you imagine having someone from supply chain coming to you and saying, your marketing manager, Lucy, she was amazing in this meeting. We've had so many issues with this person and with the stock. And on the spot, she's managed to find a solution by really calming everybody down. And there's a solution that doesn't cost much and that's going to work. And everybody was really, really appreciative of it. So I wanted you to know. And that feels so good, isn't it? You wouldn't have known otherwise because you were not in that meeting, but it just goes really places. So peer recognition was level 1. Level 2, team meeting shout-outs. I suggest, and I recommend that you dedicate a portion of your monthly team meetings. And again, just have a look at how you're set up. I'm talking monthly, but your setup might be different. To celebrate achievements and to recognize great behaviors or actions, especially those that go beyond the scope again of expected marketing responsibilities and roles and tasks that are just everybody's job to do. And when I talk about actions and project and behaviors is especially important because it's so easy to say, this person has worked on this sustainability project, which is an add-on to her work. It's not part of her scope usually, but so that was really great to see her do that and come up with really amazing initiatives. And some other people in your team might feel a bit like, well, I'm not part of extra projects, so all I do is my job. So how am I going to be, acknowledged for what I do and stuff? The fact is, behaviors are especially important in leadership, and I'm passionate about celebrating. I'm still going to use this word a couple of times today, I guess. Celebrating people's behavior, exemplary behavior, because you don't know if they actually realize how good they are when they do certain stuff and how they do it. And usually people undermine their own capabilities and competencies. So sometimes this public acknowledgement not only boosts the morale of the team, but also serves as a powerful point of motivation for others to maybe copy-paste or have some examples of how to do things. We all start with a blank page when we're very junior, and it's by observing, models and inspiring people that we can also copy and try different ways of doing things, of, influencing stakeholders, managing a conflict or kind of a tension with a sales guy, or managing problematic stock issues with the supply chain and keeping cool and just focusing on the facts and being pragmatic and all these things. So observing and hearing of examples is really, really helpful. And in your team, you most likely have a mix of more junior members and more experienced members. So this can be also a way to learn from each other by sharing examples. A caveat to this is, do make sure there is there is fairness in the number of times people are acknowledged and celebrated or recognized in these monthly meetings. Keep some kind of a track. And I'm saying that because you're the ambassador of fairness for your team, or you should be. Some people may naturally be more expressive and visible than others, and the quieter ones may think, gosh, I'll never, nobody's gonna notice what I do because I don't shout, I'm not as, expressive as other people, and I don't want to be because it's just not me, and I just don't know how to do it. So it doesn't mean that the more expressive people are necessarily doing more than the quieter ones. So the brief to the team is to really use their eyes and their ears and be observant of everyone, to really be inclusive in this approach. And to be honest, it's also a good exercise for improving your leadership skills, because you cannot just listen to the decibels and just see what is in front of your eyes. You've got, as a leader, to learn to read between the lines and to observe the unobservable, the invisible. That is a skill you have to have, and therefore when you're junior, it's really great if you could start learning it as soon as possible, in fact. So that's another good way of selling it. Level 3, cross-functional kudos or appreciations. So have a think about that example that I gave earlier on about when an employee receives a piece of recognition and acknowledgement from someone outside their immediate team or department. This is amazing. Make sure to share that praise with the individual in question and their manager. The positive halo effect of something quite unexpected, like an external recognition, is a powerful motivator, and it also creates a sense of pride and accomplishment that goes beyond the differences and the boundaries between departments. The manager will be also happy to hear that, just as per the example I gave before, to hear about something their team members has done really well. It helps for the end of year reviews, and it again creates a really good culture of feedback. Level 4, personalized notes or email. It can be digital, it can be a piece of paper, a post-it notes, and I would even say verbal. Let's be crazy. Take a few moments to craft, as a marketing director, a personalized note, an email, or maybe even just to say to your team members, highlighting specific achievements, behaviors that you've observed and appreciated. This may sound like not a waste of time. I don't think you would think that, but you would say it's going to be at the bottom of my list because there's so many. If I get up and walk towards that person, somebody else is going to stop me and talk to me about something else. Make sure you take the time to do that. Email, post-it notes, verbalizing. That doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter. You choose the best way, but what matters is that it's done, and it doesn't take a long time. But the ROI is the best one because it's not a lot of effort, and the return on investment is massive. This simple gesture has a profound impact on the individual because it makes them feel valued and understood. Imagine, back then when you were a brand manager, if you had like the marketing director or the supply chain director or the finance VP coming to you and giving you praise on the way you've handled a conversation or your work on this and that. I mean, how many times have we heard really negative comments, very short comments, that perhaps the person didn't really mean years before, and we've carried them with us throughout all of our jobs, and it's really affected our confidence. So those little short acknowledgements from a more senior stakeholder goes places. I tell you that, and I know you know it's true. And this is a feedback I especially consciously give so when I coach marketeers, and then I have some, quarterly chats with their managers or the VP or CMOs, I give that feedback to them. I give the feedback to marketing directors, the CMOs or the VPs or CEOs, as they tend to assume that their team members know they're awesome people and they're doing great stuff, and yet, no, they don't, actually. They don't. And that's why I coach them, because there's some, part of them that need a bit of reassurance that what they're doing is good. And it's just like, when you buy a product, when consumers buy products, we're so good at being quick at complaining when something is not of the quality we expect. But when you order something off Amazon, you receive it and everything's fine. You then receive a review request, but you never really fill it. Maybe you do, in which case kudos to you. But a lot of people don't, because they expect it to be, the quality you paid for, and therefore, why bother writing a feedback and a review. However, when you purchase a product, don't you check the reviews to see what's good, what's bad, and therefore making up your mind? It's the same with an employee. They or an agency for that matter. Agencies need to know what doesn't work well, which we're very good at in marketing to tell them what's not good. What they need to know is what also works well, what they have done well on the brief, what we appreciated in the options, even though we're not signing them off because they're still missing bits. They need to know what's working, what's not working. So back to my point, VPs, CMOs and marketing directors, please do take the time to do it. A simple email from you, one of the top guys, that isn't about a deadline approaching, a board meeting coming in the corner, or requests based on the latest AC Nielsen report, goes a long way. One sentence, you taking the time, highlighting the thing that they did so well and you were impressed with, and then a final encouragement for continuing to be a great example of leadership in the team, for example. Boom, extra points, engagement, retention, respect, trust. You got it. So I hope this has been quite entertaining and useful and insightful. By implementing these simple yet effective strategies, you'll not only create a positive and engaged team, but you'll gain invaluable insights into the outstanding work happening with your new brand team, the behavior displayed across functions and within the company, and the brand will benefit from this. Recognition is so powerful and can unlock your team's potential. The creativity brains. It creates a healthy level of confidence amongst your brand people, and it will contribute to your long-term success and to your growth. On that note, thank you, and I can't wait for your feedback and how that is going in your organizations when you set this up. Let me know about it.
Thank you for joining me on another insightful episode of The Marketing Whisperer. If you found value in this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a rating and a review on the podcast app of your choice. It really would help me reach more marketing leaders like you who could benefit from these insights in return. And I'd love if you would join upon my community of marketing leaders. All details are available on my website, startingblockscoaching.com. And lastly, if you're seeking one-to-one coaching, group workshops maybe for your team, leadership training, marketing expertise or career advice, basically everything that makes you a better marketing leader, feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. Search for Magali Leroux. I don't know how else to pronounce it to make it easier. Speak soon.